Did I make my sense?
Yeah, you did. It's just if you go for cancer treatment, at the end of the day, even if your doctor is saying, okay, the best option is to do chemotherapy, you have the freedom to choose if you want to do the chemotherapy or not. Some people will go for alternative practices. They go for a more holistic
Mm-hmm.
medicine, Chinese medicine, in order to cure certain diseases. People at the end of the day, they should have the freedom to choose.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, is the individual's choice to go for that treatment or not. But I don't think the mainstream media should be vilifying let's say, the alternative treatment for cancer. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah, yeah, no,
You
I
understand
follow
what I'm
you. I
saying? Like,
follow you. Yeah, absolutely.
if there is a group of experts and doctors that are saying something that has uh, heavy data to back up what they're saying, there is certain signs of melhora. How do you say it?
Improvement.
Improvement. Why shouldn't people have the choice to give it a try? Why
Mm,
should that be vilified? You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do.
that's my only question.
Right. My only answer to that is,
And
I
I
guess
I
they're.
saw this double standard. Like, I saw this being played out in, like, throughout the pandemic. The alternative was being censored, was being ridiculed by the mainstream media and the government, and there was an echo chamber, and they were just pushing for one solution,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And whoever was trying to say, like, hey, it's like that person like, at the end of the room, say, hey, I found another alternative, and they're like just like turning blind eye to that person, and then two people going, oh, yeah, I think he's right, like, we found an alternative. And whoever is managing the room there is just like turning a blind eye. Like, don't listen to those guys in the back. They're not, it's what they're saying is not relevant. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was an imbalance throughout the whole process. And I think it's dangerous because, maybe they were right. Maybe they still right. They're still out there. And I'm not advocating for this or that. I have to make this disclaimer out there. I'm just expressing ideas,
Right. I guess the
and
only.
questioning why things are the way they are.
Right. I guess the only argument, what makes this disease different than most other diseases, is the aspect that it's contagious. Like, you can't give somebody a heart attack, or you can't give somebody cancer, or you can't give somebody, like,
Yeah.
lung problems, but it's not, it doesn't affect just you.
There's so much nuance.
Right.
Well,
It's the only argument that I can
you
hear it
remember the
to
discussions we
separate.
had when
Yeah, yeah.
everything started, right?
Right.
And I got pissed off. Well, not pissed off.
You got
I
angry.
started questioning because I think health is context. You're not going to apply the same protocol to one person that you're going to apply, to person A, that you're going to apply to person B. You have to analyze the context of that person's general health in order to apply a medication or to give them a protocol for a treatment or whatever. Like, people are different.
Sure, of
People have
course.
different habits. They have a different metabolism. They are in different health conditions, overall health conditions. Certain diets are going to work for person A and they're not going to work for person B. My sister, she's been a vegetarian for, I don't know, 10 years. I tried for 2, 3 years and I couldn't do it because it wasn't healthy for me. Oh man,
Hmm.
I'm gonna get attacked for that when we're famous.
Right.
I'm just
They're
kidding.
gonna come back.
Yeah, the vegetarians, the vegans are gonna say this
Sure,
guy.
but
What anyway?
now
Do you understand what I'm
I
saying?
do. So how do you
It's all
supposed
about
to solve?
context. So I was a little upset because I'm like, well, maybe the vaccine is not the best option for me.
Sure,
You know,
but
maybe I can, if I catch COVID, I can use different alternatives to treat and, not die from it or not have complications or. So, and I wanted to have the freedom to choose. I didn't want to be, like nobody wants to be discriminated because they're not vaccinated or because of their health conditions.
Hmm. So how do you solve this problem? So you have to,
And
I
that's when we would get into
yeah,
what's more important, individual or collective.
exactly.
How do you have the collective without the individual? Who comes first, collective or individual? Why is it important to take care of the individual first, or why is it important to take care of the collective, to think of the collective first? That those
Hmm.
conversations that we used to have in the past.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry, I'm not
No,
going
no,
to
no, no,
interrupt you.
no. I'm listening, and but so it creates a problem, like how to enforce. You know, if your job is to care for the global of the population, for
The collective.
the collective of the population as a whole, how are you supposed to implement any solution that requires a group behavioral change? You know, if everybody is their own individual and they're entitled to their own choice, your plan will only work effectively once you reach a certain threshold of adherence. In this case, like if most more people get vaccinated, less chances of people dying, less chances of people clogging the healthcare system, less chances of people hospitals bursting through the seams, which was always, if we keep the eye on the ball, the goal. Like we can't prevent all deaths, but we can prevent unnecessary deaths from a situation that would arise from having too many people sick at the same time that would require actual medical
And there's
assistance.
also another element that was not good for the process, the curative process, let's say, like in general. It was the fear mongering and the panic that I felt like the media played a big part into injecting that fear into people, that people lost the ability to um to analyze risk assessment, right? And to like to ponder and to make use of rationality and criteria.
But I don't think that's a good argument, and you know why.
But
But I'll
but
tell
it
everybody
is.
else at home because the risk assessment is whack. Because people will have more fear of the cure and less fear of the disease
But
when
no,
the fear should be
no, no,
flipped.
no. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the fear of the vaccine. The fear of the unvaccinated. I think it was more nonsense than anything. The fear
Sure,
of
sure, sure, sure.
being in
Yeah.
a room with a person that was not vaccinated,
Well, that's why I said eye on the ball.
you know?
The eye on the ball is to flatten the curve, and that's always been the criteria, and not that's always been like why the world shut down, flatten the curve because this is highly
The
contagious.
the whole pandemic of the unvaccinated,
Right.
cited by our beautiful president.
But it was at one point, at one point before the virus mutated,
You can't prove that.
can tie
I don't think you can prove that.
before because in the lab analysis,
I I kid you not. I had a personal experience, and I
an
told you.
anecdotal. That's an
I
anecdotal.
Yes, anecdotal, but it is an experience where I was supervising two different COVID testing sites. And I can tell you because I had access to the system and to the people that were actually testing. I think this is dangerous, right?
No, no. I mean, you can look.
Dangerous
You can
area.
say talk about the data that you
No, no, I'm
saw.
not gonna. It's
You're not
just.
gonna name names, so it's still anonymous. But
I kid you not. Every single person that tested positive was either double or triple vax.
you have to also provide a context. You're talking about 1 year and something into the pandemic, into the population that's very highly vaccinated.
No, no, that was, but yeah, but that was during when Joe Biden was saying that this was a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Like
Well, it
just
used
it
to be.
just didn't match,
It used to be
you
because
know.
when this had to do with the mutation of the virus. Like in the beginning, it was some data was showing that unvaccinated people could not pass it on, and then it became like different mutations behave
But
slightly
they could.
different. But you're looking at a phase where the dominant variant. Did you check the variants? Could you see that on your computer? Because if you check I even
Well, we
forget the
had the
names.
Omicron scare,
So Omicron was already different than the first
Delta.
wave, which it wasn't Delta. That's Delta variant, Omicron variant. The first one before those two,
You're talking about the original,
the original,
the OG.
the OG COVID variation, or one of them, the dominant strain of the virus, that one vaccine showed to be, to the best of the of knowledge that was communicated, very effectively stopped by the vaccine. But there weren't enough vaccine to go around. That was the first bottleneck. That's why they vaccinated the old people first and the people more subject to complications. And then you had, once people start getting vaccinated, the people who chose. The people who chose not to get vaccinated, they became a quote unquote liability in this initial process. And
Hmm.
eventually it stopped mattering because vaccinated people could get sick and could give to other people, infected other people.
So they were wrong.
No, it's not they were wrong. It's like this is a moving target situation. They weren't wrong. The data just changed.
Right.
The initial information was one, and then eventually evolved into something else. But that's why I on the ball. We don't want everybody to get sick at the same time, and we don't want to
Right.
clog the hospitals because other people need medical care as well. And that's, for me, I never forgot that. Most people might have, but like, okay, this is what
Why do
we're
we?
trying to get at.
Right.
So should all this information flow to Twitter and let us decide by ourselves? Like, people, I don't think historically has worked
But
out
it
very
was
well.
flowing regardless. It's see that's the problem, is that you can't really control
True. At the end of the
100%.
day,
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't really control 100% what's being put out there and what's not.